Ready, John?
Yeah. Chris Pratt has been cast in the next Mario movie. But the big question is, did he ever give anyone his dog to take care of that he got in the previous movies?
I just can't. I'll have to see something to believe that it could top it.
There's a Harry Potter HBO Max reboot. Why? I don't know. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back everyone to Gonzo Film Reviews. We have a very exciting episode today. We did this so you don't have to. We watched the Mario movie live, like the whole thing. I even finished the credits for a post-credit scene that I could have YouTubed. All for you, because I don't recommend it for everyone who loves Mario, but you know, it's
If you talk on a podcast, it's worth it.
yeah, it's something to cover. It's something to talk about. Let's just start with the questions. Let's open it up.
Yeah, go for it. Ask away.
After watching it, I have so many questions, but not necessarily about the plot.
Mm-mm.
So question one, we're going to go right to the spoiler. Post-credit scene, there's an egg that cracks. We hear the Yoshi name call, the name drop. Do you think that's like a minor tease to the sequel, or do you think they're going to base like almost the entire sequel off like Yoshi and the Yoshi world?
Gosh, I think I firmly believe from the way that this movie was set up, like how direct they were about the direction of all of it, it's going to be focused entirely on like the world of Yoshi. Like, because they didn't really give you much else to go off of. And did it look like to you? Did it look like the egg was still in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it looked like it looked like a pipe system under the city.
Yeah,
So
like,
it must have come through when Bowser crashed there.
Yeah.
So like they have a pathway. They went back to Mushroom Kingdom at the end. So I guess she's stuck in Brooklyn. I guess so.
So Yoshi in Brooklyn, maybe the sequel.
Could be what kind of villains do you want to see though? I've heard people say Waluigi, Wario.
I would like to see Wario the most. I mean, I love Waluigi.
Yeah.
I have a high appreciation for the memes too. But I think the direction that, I mean, they kind of come hand in hand anyway. But I do believe that if you're going in order of like most popular antagonists to Mario, then I'd say probably Wario and Waluigi are next.
And ironically, I would sooner cast Jack Black as Wario than as Bowser. He was an amazing Bowser. But I still, if I had him on the table, I would want him there first. But I guess they had to swing with their biggest bat, which leads to the next question. Chris Pratt as Mario.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
Thoughts, feelings?
A lot of them.
Yeah.
all kinds.
In order of greatest strength and or pain.
Greatest strength, probably he does have kind of a good voice for a comedy role.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty funny movie, I'll give it that. If, it does appeal maybe more to a younger crowd who hasn't grown to love the original voice actor for Mario so much, it kind of just, Chris Pratt is a great actor, but I just never thought I could see him as Mario because he doesn't even really have like an accent.
The first time I saw that post, the Twitter post, it was like discussing film.
Yeah.
It was just a picture of Chris Pratt's serious face. It says, Chris Pratt has been cast in the next Mario movie. I thought it was April Fool's. I thought it was a prank.
I don't blame you at all because I'm telling you what, we walked out of the theater and I still wasn't sure what I just saw because it wasn't a bad movie. Like he did his job. It's just it's not really the point of whether or not he did well. He did his job. It's just he probably wasn't the guy I would have chose.
Yeah, it was just such an unfaithful, kind of breezy, quick and surface level adaptation that I think they missed out on a lot of opportunities because I was thinking as I watched it, like, if you slap on just the plot of Super Mario Galaxy
Mm-hmm.
into this, even if you condense it and adapt it, it's miles better than what they kind of came up with. The strongest bond, I think, was just like the brother relationship, but we also didn't see much of them interacting. It was mostly like quick little flashbacks,
Yeah.
and then they were really happy when they were together, and they did well. Like
Yeah.
they together they were stronger and all that. It was like a good younger theme, but
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't much to it.
No, not
It was
really.
mostly just Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt, and then Luigi was a little better. I mean, I couldn't
I
quite tell much.
I didn't mind Charlie Day as Luigi, but I feel like that's also, like I said before, like when we were in the theater, I feel like that's because like Luigi didn't get that many voice lines throughout the movie. And
Yeah,
it's a
it's
short
hard to
movie.
judge.
So like, I'm not entirely against Charlie Day because I guess he kind of sounds similar. He just doesn't have the accent.
Yeah, he was a
He
lot
has
closer.
he has the right vocal pitch. It's just I don't know. I don't mind Charlie Day, but I just can't. I can't quite accept it in my heart that Chris Pratt is Mario.
Yeah, I left the theater not even feeling like Mario's back or Mario's in cinemas or
Mm.
that was a Mario movie. I just kind of left thinking that was a pretty funny movie. Like
Yeah,
the Toads were hilarious. I mean, they cracked me up a good number of times.
yeah, they were
The
good.
little water element in the prison, the dungeon of
Yeah, the little
Bowser,
star
with
guy.
the self existential nihilist little water elemental was just like so
he was
apocalyptically delicious.
he was hopeless, but in the best kind of way. The
Death made him
penguin,
happy.
the penguin, the Penguin King. I got a lot of humor out of him.
Please just stop.
Yeah,
Those toads when they were fleeing, I think it was probably the biggest laugh. He like dropped some apples.
just leave it. There's no time.
Run! Oh, I love those guys.
No, yeah, they were adorable.
So the next question:
Mm-hmm.
if you want sequels, which you could even say no, you don't want them, but if you wanted any sequels at all, what would you want them to improve about their interpretation of Mario as a game genre? Because honestly, it's its own genre, like
Mm-hmm.
of Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was Zelda, right? And they kind of butchered Zelda, and they made Larry the Cable Guy is Link, you know, and then Zelda is in his role with the sword and all doing all the adventuring,
Mm-hmm.
and Link is always like indisposed or on a higher plane or captured or needing a
He's
power
in the
source or
Luigi
whatever.
spot.
Yeah. So like where Princess Peach usually is where Zelda usually ends up in these games, and then she comes at the end all powerful and blasts everything to shit.
Yeah.
So for a sequel, what do you think they could do to kind of more accurately embrace Mario and probably be a little less scared of welcoming new people in and scaring them away now that they realize how much money they can make in a Mario movie? They have enough now where they can take a risk, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they could take a risk, but genuinely, I mean, even as you're asking me about it, I'm trying to think about it, and I'm not entirely sure. The movie itself left me with a very odd impression that I couldn't begin to like try and mold a different way because it all went by so fast.
Yeah.
Right? The plot was so direct, and usually the pacing of the movie is kind of what lets it sink in a little bit. There's stakes, everything like that, which the stakes were always there. They did a good job of keeping the stakes present. I think that's something that they should keep if there's a sequel.
Yeah, have a good time pressure
But I think that they should
conflict.
change the pacing. They fit a lot of things happening in like a very short amount of time.
It wouldn't have killed them to make it an hour 45 or 2 hours even.
No, it wouldn't have.
It would have been a little easier to get all
Yeah,
that exposition down.
because there's so much, like, you almost can't get a full appreciation for the movie like being what it is. I mean, we finally get a Super Mario Bros. Movie, and there's all these references to the games, and all of the creatures in the Mario games, and we get to see kind of how the kingdoms live and everything like that.
Some
But
very
we
cool
only
worlds on
get to
screen.
see them for like we get glimpses, you know what I mean, at each kingdom for not long at all, and then it's skipped right forward, and we're heading right back on target to like the the plot. Yeah.
Even since I was a kid, that's been one of my biggest gripes with a lot of movies,
Mhm.
especially kids' movies, is that they tend to be whiplash like that. They want to keep kids excited and like sugar rush, adrenaline. But a lot of kids are more detailed and slow, and like they want to see the world that you're enticing them with. Like the Donkey Kong track when they were
Yeah.
going to meet the king.
Mhm.
I mean, give me just 10 seconds more, like 30 seconds more of that. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was
And when they're
awesome.
doing the course, don't just show me flyby footage of them, on certain obstacles. Change up the course a little bit too. Like make it like the games where you're actually watching them from the side. Do it like they tried. They didn't quite 100% get to like all the game elements, but they certainly tried to showcase them a little bit, um, and make them integral to the plot. But yeah, I
Mhm.
ever since I was a kid, there was so many movies where I was like, just hold it a little longer, please.
Mhm.
Finding Nemo had the perfect pacing because you felt like you spent just the perfect amount of time with every really cool location,
Mhm.
creature, and conflict. So
Mhm.
yeah, I 100% get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's really deep in my soul how
Yeah.
much I love good pacing. And you're an editor, I'm a
Yeah.
writer. Pacing is our blood.
Absolutely.
So like if we made something, when we make something,
Mhm.
some things,
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
going to be sitting in that editing room for the majority of the time we work on the project. Just like this, because that's where it all happens.
And
So like the pacing has to feel like you're a kid and you watch that movie and you really got it. They're just hitting the engines.
and that's the thing. It is the biggest nightmare for any kind of editor whenever it's 0 to 100 and you never slow down enough, because if in like if you ever have to edit something, you kind of need room to breathe to make fixes, right?
The number one rule of editing I've always heard from the greatest masters of the cinematic craft: you can always cut things out. You
Mhm.
cannot add things in.
Mhm.
Sure, you could reshoot, but that's technically cheating. Like you can't add things as an
Yeah.
editor. You keep they made the footage is
No.
already made. So give them too much. Never give them too little. Oh,
Exactly. I Yeah, but that's what I would do if there was a sequel. That's what I would do different. Because I would probably have more to say, but like I said, it's just I felt like I was constantly getting hit with that adrenaline rush, like you were saying. Like they wanted to keep you. You didn't have time to appreciate like the scenery in the movie because you were always like, oh, now they're doing this, and now they're going there, and now they're doing this, and this is happening, and you never have just a second to like take it in to be like, wow, this looks amazing as an adaptation of something I love. Instead, it's just kind of like it's almost like if it was a video game, whoever was in control was speed running it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It definitely
you know
felt
what I
like
mean?
as a video game, it wouldn't have been very fun at all.
No,
If those
yeah.
were the cutscenes, I could only imagine the video game was dreadfully
Yeah,
boring.
yeah, yeah.
And there was actually one clever edit that I really loved. It's when he saw his first um, level
Mhm,
in Mushroom Kingdom when he's trying to go to the castle to meet Peach,
mhm,
and we just kind of cut to him at the end, exhausted,
mhm.
and we all know what he did. Like we sat there, we play the games where you have to try. It takes you hours to like
Yeah,
finish a whole big level, and they cut that down to a millisecond.
yeah,
And like it was clever, it was funny, and nobody wants to sit there and watch the entire process, but at least montage it. Like
yeah.
show us some of the actual game. It felt like a lot of the scenes had cheap sets.
Mhm.
They were put on a stage, and you saw it from like one angle, and then they would zoom to the next one, like you said. I didn't actually feel like when he was fighting Donkey Kong, he was in like a real cool arena because we only saw like two shots of it, and then he started losing. He hit a box, he started winning, he won,
Yeah.
and then you zoom to the next part. It's like the only places I felt like we really had great scenery was when there was a Bowser scene in his castle, or
Yeah.
if we were like traveling, literally flying through the air,
Mhm.
or there was a travel sequence. That's the only time I really felt like the world was very, very beautiful, and I could
Mhm.
like feel it, like I was actually there. The introduction to the Toad Kingdom was like, I kind of felt like that on the opening, because they carefully, slowly went through the whole opening part of the city, and you saw so many different aspects of their lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
But
but a lot after that, they just never really went into in depth anywhere at all.
exactly. That was like the first and only time they ever took the time to show, like, hey, this is a living, breathing world.
Yeah,
That these creatures exist and they live their lives this way. Instead, it was just kind of like they showed you that to be like, these are the things that you're protecting.
yeah, you're supposed to care about what
Yeah,
happens to them,
yeah,
so they're the only ones we're going to care about.
yeah. You know what I wanted to see more of? I wanted to see more from the Shy Guys.
Yeah,
Little dudes in the masks.
they were pretty cool.
Yeah, I
I
don't
was really
know.
hoping for like a tie-in to the Ghost track from most
Hmm.
of the games, or at least Luigi's Mansion. I mean, if we have a Haunted Mansion spinoff or sequel, it mostly focused on Luigi, that's probably the number one thing I want out of this.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, Luigi's Haunted Mansion was one of my favorite games
Oh,
growing up. And you know what? I got really excited whenever it first showed him in the dark area
yeah.
and he had a flashlight and like his like tool thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he about to fight ghosts? And then, of course, that never happened because Luigi didn't really get like a shining moment until the very end.
And it was just mostly to protect Mario, and then
Yeah.
he jumped on the star
And
too.
that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I and I'm a diehard like stan of Luigi. I always felt like he should get a little bit more love. I don't know. The way I just feel like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, there wasn't really much of the bros together. They kind of took Peach and Luigi and swapped them.
Yeah, why was
Like
Peach training Mario on how to do what Mario does in the beginning?
that was,
A
yeah,
little odd to
and
me.
then
Like, I don't care if they, I don't mind who does it, but it just
mm-mm.
seems strange to me that like she was kind of posited as the one who would do the training.
Yeah,
Sounds like something a princess would outsource.
yeah.
I guess she had a crush on him, but still, kind of a
Um,
strange thing to see. Like the very first Mario game, you don't see her train him.
mm,
It's just not really the lore or like the canon or whatever you want to
yeah.
call it.
And it's like it, the whole thing. Usually, the way the Mario games are, Peach gets kidnapped, right, by Bowser. You go and, oh, Mario, you have to save her. The princess has been kidnapped. You go, oh, she's not at this kingdom. You have to go to the other kingdom and all that.
Yeah,
But it's always like Mario and Luigi going to save the princess. But this time it was Mario and the princess going to save Luigi.
yeah, pretty interesting. Like they inverted it for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. But yeah,
And
that.
also, it was like save clueless Luigi. She didn't even know him,
Mm,
so she wasn't even really saving anyone that she knew or cared particularly about.
well, she was
She was
going.
helping her crush get his brother back.
Mm,
And very like, what do you call it? New crush.
yeah,
It was a very fresh crush.
yeah,
She just met the guy,
yeah.
so it was fast, just like everything else in the movie. They moved fast.
Hmm. Granted, I mean, she also, I guess it was under the guise of like, she has to protect her kingdom too.
Yeah, she
So
promised as a
like, yeah,
monarch.
yeah. So like, I guess they had, shared goals in going where they were going, but like, it's just, it's so different from the Mario games
That
in
we know and
certain
love.
ways. The things that they kept most like two were the power ups.
Yeah,
I
power
think,
ups and like cars and
yeah,
the general functions and like the, what do you call them, the materials,
yeah,
the
yeah,
things
yeah.
you can use. But yeah, the story and the characters and um, the interaction with each place they went to is
Mhm.
a little odd, a little off. And I really love the Mario games for being completely crazy and like
Yeah,
huge travels and everything and fun. And even tracks where you're driving as fast as you can, it still felt like you had a satisfying amount of time and you saw enough of Cheeseland to not want to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if Cheeseland was in this, they would go through a few Swiss holes and then just leave and see one
Yeah.
mouse or something. But that's not really Cheeseland. It's like it's like they only showed a little bit of Rainbow Road.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of that was when he jumped off the side.
Oh yeah.
And took that shortcut to the below track. So because I felt like I was playing the games again because that's what I would do.
Exactly.
I found all those crazy, insane shortcuts that you're not supposed to take, but like they build it in there just in case you notice. Oh, it's so fun.
Which, you speak of that scene. Was I the only one wondering how the guy that was chasing him got down there? Because they didn't show him take it too.
It made it look like he couldn't.
Yeah, like it made
But
it
there
look.
also
He literally
wasn't-
watched him go down there, and then next frame we see them. He's behind him somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they assumed that we wouldn't notice. He just yeeted himself down there.
He just off screen.
Yeah.
Caught up, I guess, but changed tracks off screen. But yeah, I don't know.
What else for Mario? There were a couple parts where I actually enjoyed it. The humor was great.
Absolutely.
And there were some parts where it really did feel like you were playing one of the games. And I just kind of smiled because like, yep, that's Mario.
Mm-hmm.
But they were so rare. Like the whole movie should have been like that. Like when I watched the Lego movie, so much of that was just sitting there going, yes, this is exactly what playing with Legos is like. And then you literally get to see it through the mind of two people, like real people, who built the world. And it's a real kind of like a meta thing. It was so good. And, like Finding Nemo, you get a whole ocean cool story and everything. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's like an Up. Like you get all these rare gems.
Fantastic.
Puss in Boots. So, but this wasn't one of them. I don't think it really lived up to Mario or just, great animated film.
Mm-hmm.
Big money maker.
But
I don't know about I really feel like they should have delayed this. They made it really quickly and they announced it really quickly. They made it right after they announced it. I mean, so I feel like they could have just taken another year or two and made like an excellent 2-hour quintessential Mario movie that might have made more money too. So, but it was, I would say probably, I don't know. It's hard to rate kids films, because when it doesn't really connect with the brand for me, I feel like that's like a half score, like a 5 out of 10. But when you're thinking of kids, it's like maybe they don't give a shit about the Mario fans or guys like me. Like maybe they're just giving kids a fun movie that they can basically understand all of, right? And there's nothing a kid wouldn't get in that movie.
Yeah,
So
well, that's the thing is if you're looking at it for like this is meant for just purely like take your kids to it and you get a day off from parenting kind of thing, like just an hour and a half free of crying children and whatnot. They can go, they can have fun, enjoy the movie. From a parent's perspective, the movie's really, really good, right? Because it keeps their attention for the entire time. They don't have enough time to really like worry about the stuff that we worry about. They're kids, they don't care anyway. But and it's very funny.
yeah, it's kind of like putting VeggieTales on and getting them to shut up for a minute.
And but so I think as far as like a family movie goes, I'd give it and this is being very generous, but I'd give it like a 7.5.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that. I would say 8.
Yeah, maybe
for
an 8.
a family movie. If it was a hour 50-ish
Mhm.
instead of hour and 29, I would say it's like a 9 or 10 out of 10 because it'll keep, you can babysit that way. You can send your older sibling, you can send your grandma,
Mhm.
they're gone a little longer. Like when it's that quick, they're going to come through the door and mommy and daddy are going to be enjoying the couch a lot. And they're going to be like, they're back already?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just relaxing. We're sleeping. Yeah, we took a nap.
Yeah, it was just a really fast movie.
It's really hot in here, so so that's why my shirt's on the floor. Why don't you take him to Chuck E. Cheese? Like, if it was just a little longer, I would say almost like a perfect family film. But as a Mario film, or just in general as an animated film, just judging it by the pure standards of story that I usually kind of hold things to, probably like a 5.
Mhm.
Like I liked it less than D&D, and I like D&D less than a lot of other movies I've seen recently. It's that was like a 6.
Yeah.
Probably around a 5.5 for Mario, and just overall, like everything considered. But if just as a family movie or a way to pass time, I mean,
I'd give
why
it an
not?
8. Solid 8 up for as a family movie then.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say, yeah. Yeah, I can agree on that. So like, from a Mario fan standpoint, give it maybe a 5.
Yeah. It just
And then an
just didn't
8
do it
for
for
a
me.
family movie. I agree with that. That's a good way to wrap that up. Put a bow on it.
It wasn't Jedi's. It wasn't Star Wars' Last Jedi.
No.
It was more like Star Wars' Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Got a lot of good stuff in it, some cool action, some humor, but really dragged down by the lame love story and slower parts.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
This was the opposite. It was too fast and too superficial,
Yeah.
and could have been dragged down a little more.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would have helped it, but it was kind of like the Attack of the Clones vibe.
Yeah, they just never lowered the anchor. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all.
just a bit mid.
It could have just slowed down. I think that was my biggest problem with it, is that I felt like I had to keep up the whole time.
Yeah, and you know that whatever you're watching at that moment
Mhm.
is going to be replaced pretty damn soon.
Yeah.
You know that no matter what, the conclusion is near. So,
Granted, maybe it's genius. Maybe they want you to watch it like 3 times so you're satisfied with what you've seen.
maybe. I mean, I would watch it. I would just watch the Peach song over and over again just for the laughs.
Oh
Because
yeah.
Jack Black, he makes a funny voice sound good.
Yeah, he does.
But he sounds so damn good when he sings. It starts bad on purpose, and then it just gets so good.
Gotta love Jack
He
Black.
traps you. He honeypots you. It's
Yeah, he
so
does.
good.
Gotta love Jack Black. That is one thing they did right.
Yeah, Jack Black, keep him. Like, please.
Absolutely.
Bowser
Reuse him
Jr.
for Wario.
Yeah, tone his voice down, pitch it down, literally make him Bowser Jr. too,
Oh, that'd be perfect.
and then have Bowser Jr. break Bowser out, and then he's literally plays both of them. That'd be amazing.
I'd love that. I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, I watch the hell out of that.
Do it from Bowser Jr. be the protagonist of that one, from his perspective.
We could probably follow him. It'll be like
interesting.
it'll be like taking the other side. So
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
follow Bowser, getting Bowser out
'Cause
of prison.
The Koopas were funny too.
Yeah, I love it all. So like the characters that were great. It's not the casting necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say a good old 5 or 6 out of 10. It wasn't the worst movie I ever saw, but it definitely was one of the least faithful to its source material that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
But coming up, though, we do have a special review of John Wick 4, which was also watched recently by both of us.
Yes.
And we're going to kind of go into the comparison as well, tracking this through the trilogy that came before it, and figuring out if this is the end for John Wick or if this is just the beginning of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
We already have spinoffs, so spoiler, there is still going to be John Wick content.
Mm-hmm.
But the big question is, did he ever give anyone his dog to take care of that he got in the previous movies? Because he got one from the Continental. So
Exactly what I was thinking the whole time I was watching. I was wondering because they never approached the subject. They
nope.
never once approached
They
it.
just end
And
it. It's
the
like
whole time I'm sitting there and all these literally nothing but death happening in that movie. And I'm just kind of like, this all started because some Russian mobster's son shot his dog.
Yep.
And I'm like, all of this.
The words that kept going through my head when I watched the fourth one. The first batch of words were, Trey, oh my God, just ask for her damn number, you wuss. Because my friend went to the lobby not once, not twice, but 3 times to attempt to ask a girl he liked in there for her number, and he failed all 3 times. He spent most of the time in the restroom with napkins and M&Ms.
So he struck out.
Yeah, and then the 3rd time he went, they closed the lobby by then. So he spent the entire movie kicking himself and going, you idiot, why didn't you just do it? Ah! But anyway, the second thing I was thinking was, a fucking pencil.
Yeah.
With a pencil. Just the whole time.
Yeah.
And I just saw every weapon he used and every person he killed. I imagined him doing it with a pencil. And I enjoyed the movie so much more.
It's so good. I mean, I really, really like the stunt choreography in the John Wick movies.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell that in this one, it's a little bit different from the others. Some of the fight scenes seemed a little bit less fluid. Like you can clearly tell that like some of the scenes look like they were one take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And they even
like,
cut a lot of fighting too, which is
yeah, they
crazy
did.
because it was such a long movie. I
Hmm.
thought they left it all out there, but I heard there's a big cuts out of the mob boss's death. It
Hmm.
was supposed to be a longer fight, much
Yeah,
longer on the stairs. And they just like, just cut it, make him fall off,
yeah.
break his neck. So, I mean,
What did you think of Scott Adkins in that?
honestly, I think he was one of the high points.
Yeah.
He was really funny and he was very refreshing because it came like halfway through the long movie.
Hmm.
So having him pop up and be so funny and so like cool at the
Hmm.
same time was really refreshing. It was a good kick in the pants for the rest of the movie and to kind of keep you going into the third act. And coming up after this, we're gonna have questions about John Wick 4. And we are back with questions on John Wick 4 and the trilogy overall.
So my main focus, of course, is going to be on the latest movie, the John Wick 4.
Yeah.
So my first question to you, and this one is more for the comedic sense. I actually almost burst out laughing when the scene started because it was one of those things that just they really just jumped you into it. The opening scene where he's on a horse riding behind those people and shooting at them.
Yeah.
I counted his shots, by the way. He never reloaded or anything like that. He shot that pistol 23 times. 23 times. But also, like, I don't know, it was just, it's one of those jump cuts right into the beginning of the movie where there's already action that you can't, there's no context. So,
Yeah.
like, I wanted to laugh. I found it actually really funny. But and of course, like after you kind of understand what's going on, but it takes a little while because he has to kill all the horsemen first,
Get up to the
and
guy,
then they
have a
start
slight
talking.
dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like, what was your impression on that?
I saw it in a bigger theater. I went to XD, so it does
Mm,
nothing to add to your picture, but it adds to the sound. Bigger speakers, deeper sound,
yeah.
more sounds. So the first punches you hear, they really like shake the
Oh
old
yeah.
chest. Not as much as like IMAX or Dolby, but still, it was pretty solid. It was
Hmm.
good. So when I was feeling those punches, I mean, it gives you the tone and it kind
Hmm.
of gets you adrenalized for the rest of what's going to happen. But yeah, there were many moments where I was just laughing. The whole theater laughed many times, honestly, in moments that you'd think would be serious.
Hmm.
So like when he fell down the stairs and just would not stop rolling down and jumping down them, everybody just started laughing, like dying laughing. Nobody was like, "Oh man," or nobody felt defeated. They just started cracking the fuck up because it was
Hmm.
just so exaggerated and funny. But
Is he ever
the
gonna stop?
yeah, his pistols, man. They were very liberal with the bullet count on the through the whole film, and that's why I loved the swords. Honestly, like
Hmm.
when they tried to invade the club that he was speaking to his friend that he was kind of hiding at. They, I like the swords. I like the sumo guys. I like
Hmm.
the creativity and the stars and everything, the ninja
Yeah.
aspects because so much of this series is guns, and to
Hmm.
have them hold their own mostly against the biggest threat that they've faced, the full force of the circle behind it, the table.
The table.
They they were pretty cool. It was a nice, fresh kind of fight, and you're so ready for that first fight to begin. The way they had the camera tracking the music and everybody getting ready, I've rarely felt more pumped to see a fight
Oh yeah.
on screen, and that's rare because you get so desensitized to violence and fighting in movies, especially if there's plot armor, because you just know that there's hitting each other and taking mortal wounds and not going to die. You know they're
Hmm.
not going to die, but you're just like, oh okay, he lost the liver. Oh well, I mean he'll
Yeah.
tank it,
Yeah.
because you're just used to that happening in so many movies you see now. But
Mm.
like that first fight was so cleverly shot and edited, and the music was just so pitch perfect that I was
Mhm.
so ready for that fight to start,
It was
and it did
phenomenal.
not disappoint. So
No.
it was. I think that it kind of set the tone, but it also, yeah, like you slanted in this like comedic value to the seriousness of the finality of the film.
Hmm.
So I mean, they kind of set you up for the stairs climax
Yeah.
with that opening where he's just blowing extra bullets out of his ass. I'm John Wick. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
just all these bullets out of nowhere.
which which actually leads me to my next question for you. So speaking of the club scene, right, at the Osaka hotel,
Yeah,
the Osaka Continental. So when he's defending that, I know my favorite thing about that was that the variety of weapons being used by each character. So like yeah, the swords, the shurikens, like all that stuff. But then he even takes up nunchucks and he's
Oh yeah.
oh, that was probably my favorite scene. Uh One of my favorite scenes. It's such a long movie. Yeah, but like it was so satisfying to see cuz you don't see nunchucks in movies ever,
And he
right?
killed
And
it with the
he killed
nunchucks. He
it.
was so skilled.
Oh, he was so good. And I,
He did 75% of his own stunts
yeah,
too. So you know it
hey,
was him.
Keanu Reeves is a godsend. He really is. And I hope he continues to do movies the way he has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
Ready,
that guy.
John?
Yeah.
But I wanted to get your opinion on the variety of weapons that were used throughout the whole film.
It was so clever because you saw a lot of characters not just aimlessly, casually pick up a weapon if they lost theirs. You saw them deliberately steal the weapons of other characters and turn them on them, and then keep using them. So even the old man at the beginning with the sword
Hmm.
and the staff and everything, and all of his own weaponry, he's expert in. The first thing you see him do is twist up a guy's arm, take his gun, and then start using it the whole rest of the fight. It's like they're not fools. They know they need to match these guys as best they can, but I think the weaponry was just incredible because mostly you see John Wick classic pistol.
Hmm.
He gets a very sexy pistol towards the end, but when they're negotiating, I'm not 100% sure how it works still, and I've seen it twice. I'm not sure who had the right to choose each thing in the negotiation between the duel, because you would see one of them say a location, the other would counter with a different location, but one of them would get the choice. And it wasn't clear to me who got the right to choose each one, because they would flip their cards and everything, but
Hmm.
uh, we only know the first choice because the usher, the master ceremonies, the old man with the white beard, with the finger missing, the same
Hmm.
finger Wick is missing.
Hmm.
You see him say that the pompous Swede gets, or Frenchman or whatever he was, I think he was Swedish, gets the
Uh,
first choice. But
yeah,
then after that, we had no idea who was choosing
he
what.
was Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård. He
Yeah,
played the Marquis.
Marquis. Yes, that's what it was.
Hmm. Yeah, I see. The way they settled that was each of them would name their location, and then they would each flip a card, and then whoever had the higher card, that would be what they
Got
would
it.
do.
Okay. I
So
thought the cards were more representative of what they were like saying or showing, but now I
no,
get it.
yeah,
Yeah, now I get it.
it's
The
like a
tablets were basically,
completely randomized. Like
yeah,
you flip a tablet, and if your tablet that you flipped was higher of a number than theirs, then you won.
got it. Yeah. So
Um,
then that was such a good scene,
mhm.
but that led to the final battle where Wick won with the guns because the Marquis wanted blades because he
Mhm.
knew that Kane could kill anybody with a blade,
Mhm.
even John. So, John luckily got the higher number. He said bullets, and it's also more easily manipulated bullets
Mhm.
because
Pistols.
you can take some shots,
Oh yeah.
even if they're fatal, and you can
Mhm.
still crawl a little bit. And if you sacrifice yourself, you can keep one in the chamber for him when he comes
That's
to
right.
finish the job. So,
That's right.
you arrogant asshole.
Yeah.
He didn't shoot. Oh,
Yeah.
it was so good.
Oh my god. And what did you think of Skarsgård as the Marquis?
He was excellent. I'm so tired of him playing like completely insane guys. So it was really good to see someone very calculating, very sane, and very
Mhm.
intimidating in terms of the power he wielded. But I loved how it was always reminded to the audience by the older man, like where the hierarchy really lies. This guy is not the top. You could
Mhm.
tell that he's an attorney general who is fucking desperate to get some arrests and get some big
Mhm.
busts. He wants to indict Trump, right? So he wants the big game
Mhm.
because he wants to get up to the higher levels. And this old man keeps humbling him and putting him in his place, and just reminding him that everything he's doing is not upstanding,
Mhm.
and not everything he does is going to be admired
Mhm.
by the families at the table.
Right.
So it was a very cool to see someone intimidating, but still not intimidating enough to even begin to intimidate the table. They just hired him
Mhm.
to clean up some messes, and he didn't realize that he's not the king of everything now. So the power got to his head. He got drunk. You could tell he was a young, headstrong, power-hungry villain, and that made him very dangerous, but also vulnerable. And it was so cool to see such a good integration of villains, where usually the series is kind of like they'll throw a lot of NPCs at you, and they'll throw a lot of mid-level bosses at you that run the NPCs, and then they die at the end of the movie, and that's a John Wick movie. This was more like you very high level. You've been sticking with us through these video games. It's kind of like a video game series. You stuck with us. We're going to give you some serious bosses, but they're going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like a promise delivered, honestly.
Absolutely. And speaking of like the Marquis, and you made a point on like he's vulnerable because he's so headstrong, and I think his ambition was openly the downfall of him in the end, which a brilliant character who played on his ambition was Winston, Ian
Yeah.
McShane's character.
He's the ultimate calculator, and his
Mhm.
experience was so superior to this young guy. And there's even a scene where he says, history is littered with marquises who, had great ambitions, great ideas, but, they got trampled by the experienced con man, politician,
Mhm.
leader, military man, like whatever, all these ambitious guys who got completely trampled by history and by their circumstances and
Mhm.
by their flaws. So he always has an angle, as John Wick said.
Always. And so one of my favorite characters in the movie, I know we both have some thoughts on him. Uh,
But wasn't he
what
so
did you
cool?
think about Kane? His character. What did you think about him?
Emotionally, the investment was high. So
Mhm.
I loved his story. He filled a really typical but still amazing role of incredible warrior that's forced to do things he doesn't want to. He was basically the Hercules, like what do you call it? It's for indentured servitude
Mhm.
to protect his daughter, and the relationship that he desperately wants but can't have with her. He seemed like he wanted to avoid direct contact with her
Mhm.
for obvious reasons. He's been an assassin for a long time. He doesn't want to directly endanger her. Of course, the table knows about her.
Mhm.
Of course, the table knows they can threaten her with, they're like the CIA. They can just
Yeah.
poison her. Like, she can disappear from the face of the earth. No one would know. No one would prosecute. Nothing would happen.
Mhm.
And he would lose his daughter. So he had to do everything they said. But, I love that part of him. But
Mhm.
yeah, there were also very confusing things too. They stretched my willingness to participate in the negotiation of suspension of my unalienable right to suspension of disbelief. And
Mhm.
John Wick, I always give them a lot of room for leeway, and I give them the benefit of the doubt by a mile. But like, this guy just pushed it.
Yeah.
They had him use a couple tricks that you would think a man, even the most skilled blind man, would use to get around his apartment and not fucking fall in the oven or break his neck on the tub. But
Mhm.
this man was unblindly going through the whole film. Like, he sword fought like he could see everything that was coming. He never once looked blind, to be perfectly honest. Like, he took his glasses off, you saw scars, but he still, you could see his lens focusing on the people he was looking at.
Mhm.
It was so odd. It was like he was faking blindness, and maybe a plot twist,
Mhm.
because he never had a single problem navigating even up steps and everything. Like, it's just, how did you do this, man?
And that's the thing.
He should have been shot so many times. Like, blind people and bullets, and people fighting people with guns with a sword. No, he would have been killed. There was only one moment actually where he was actually blind. It was when he thought he killed John earlier, when he shot up some glass. So he's kind of stumbling around, going, "John, you dead?"
Are you dead?
No. Start shooting. Like, I think they just pushed me a little too far with him. But
Yeah.
as a character, he was the coolest one. And
Phenomenal.
as a person, just as a fully fleshed 3D character, I mean, he was honestly excellent. So, and he's definitely going to be in more movies. They're going to
Mm.
have spin-offs focusing on that woman who wants revenge for her father's
Akira.
death, because he sword fought perfectly and killed her dad,
Mhm.
so who was not blind. So,
Yeah.
it was typical John Wickian, but it was the first time I've ever watched a series and gone, that couldn't happen. What the hell is
Yeah.
that? Like, how does that? No, he's
Yeah.
faking it. I said that the whole time, so I hope that's a plot twist in the future, is that he's not actually fully blind, or maybe the glasses are like sensors of some sort that help him, high tech and
Yeah.
pulse, like sonar pulse, kind of like the Dark Knight, where he wore the the lenses
Yeah.
from Fox that gave him basic pulses, but if they malfunction, then that's all he could see, and he had to rip them out basically if they malfunctioned because he wouldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. But
Maybe.
yeah, man, I don't know how he did it. They didn't make it. They didn't spend much time beyond the first
It
couple
wasn't
scenes.
it wasn't very believable past
Yeah,
the first couple times they showed him like fight with it.
yeah,
Like whenever he used the doorbells and shit like that. That was really cool. Because then like that's reasonable. He would know where to shoot because the noise came from there, right?
you got to pray that they don't realize though, because like if I walked past that noise, and I got scared because I thought it was I might duck like a bullet.
Yeah.
And then you're behind the counter and he's just shooting at the wall. So that's another thing too. Like they were thankfully for him dumb enough to just stand and be like, "Oh, what's that noise?" and then stay still and wait for him to be like, "Oh, the noise was there," and then like perfectly shoot him right in the head. It's like,
Mhm.
how?
Well, that's the thing. Even if he knows the general location of where someone's standing from that noise,
Probably gonna
how does he
miss.
know where their head is?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like, how does he know where the gun is? Like, he can know he's holding his arm out straight, but you don't know if the gun's like this or down or like how do you? That's why I think the gunfighting with him was um a little far fetched, but also I love the character. I don't want to argue it too much, but like it doesn't make too much sense in the world that he was living in and fighting in.
Yeah,
He
it
shouldn't
was
have made it that far.
low key. It would have been funny if his first fight he got murked right in the head
Yeah.
because he's. I literally just whip my arms up a couple times now. I close my eyes, I listen to a sound in the room, and then I whip my arm at it. And like both times, I was not even close to the actual object. I was just
Mm.
in the general area. But I would have missed every time. But it's like, I mean, I guess he has superpowers. I mean, we'll find out if he's on a super drug of some sort. Like there's that movie Limitless
Yeah.
and Endless or whatever it's called. So maybe he's on a super drug. I don't know. He's magic.
Well, that's the thing is it, and you could argue like, oh, well, maybe he's practiced, but it's like in practice, how does he know if he hits the thing,
Yeah,
right? Like,
John, you dead?
exactly. Is
Would John
so
say if he's dead?
right? Like, if he wasn't laying on glass, he probably could have killed him right there.
Yeah. Then like, how many dead guys are gonna go? Yeah, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Like no.
So I guess one of my last couple of questions, but in my opinion, the saddest one I have. Are you aligned with me in the thought that Lance Reddick's character should have gotten more screen time? I know that like they were done filming it before he passed and everything, but it was very sad that like the first 15 minutes of that 3-hour movie was all we got with him.
Yeah, it was. Rest in peace to Lance, and he was scheduled for a Comic Con that one of my coworkers was going to go to.
That's so sad.
He would have been able to meet him, but yeah, he
I wish.
he had a great career though, and he killed it in his series. So it's a mixed bag because he was so great in the time he was in, but I don't see a very very strong place for the character in the rest of the film. I
Mm,
see a strong place for the actor because like you can't go wrong with him. The more you have him, the better you're gonna feel. But
mm,
as a character, I understand why if you're just putting this on a white page and you don't really think beyond that to start,
mm,
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to be there. He really signified and solidified the Continental's stability and safety.
mhm,
And him dying wasn't just their friend dying or a character death. It wasn't just an example to make the villain stronger, which it still did. It made him
mhm.
very
Oh, it did.
serious because he blew up the Continental and shot the guy. Like that's what made him really get the momentum to be a great villain, like I said
Mhm.
earlier. But I mean, yeah, losing Lance's character was incredibly sad. So I understand why he shouldn't have been in the rest of the film, because his significance was mainly to signify the safety and security and long-term stability of the Continental. So as soon as the Marquis blew that up and killed him, the audience really knows in their stomach and in their emotional depths that the Continental is gone, and Winston really needs to use his masterful negotiation tactics, use his knowledge of the laws and the rules of the table to outsmart the Marquis, even if it means kissing his ass for the longest time and just trying really hard to avoid getting killed before he has a chance to truly arrange all of his strongest pieces into a checkmate. And that's what Winston is. He's the mastermind who is always out for himself, but also tries to keep his very closest friends alive as much as he can. He has some honor in him, just a little bit, and he needed that kick in the ass to really get the better of the Marquis. I feel like if Lance's character had stayed the rest of the film, I don't think he would have had that same motivation. I think he would have gone and done what he did in, what was it, the third one, where he was kind of on lockdown and fleeing, basically, kind of hiding, and unless he shot Wick, and then the table finally got off his ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that if he was still there, you would have had that situation all over again, just another third one.
Yeah.
They really wanted you to feel like this is the last one. And in the last movie of violent movies, there's always going to be the pickoffs. Game of Thrones does it. Harry Potter did it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Star Wars does it. Pirates of the Caribbean. They all just give you that real punch in the gut when they finish a trilogy or a film or a story arc or a subplot.
Mm-hmm.
They will take someone out. They're not afraid. So John Wick, I mean, they're no different. He's killed a lot of people, a lot of major people, a lot of big name actors that they can't have come back in sequels. They killed off because they were like, this is what would happen. So it's not just plot armor for them. So yeah, I would say he's sorely missed. He was an amazing actor, but as much as I wish I had him there for the movie, I understand with the plot that they ended up going with why he wouldn't stick around. But, they could always have made a different plot where he could have been involved and then maybe died at the end. But, it's just the way the plot unfolded, it felt right, even if it was hard.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that he was kind of like the thing that invested both the audience and the characters into what was happening. I think because everybody loved his character. Everybody loved him. And I think that, like you said, he was a symbol of something good.
Yeah.
And the moment that the Marquis shot him, you were like, whoa, what does this mean? Like holy shit, that just happened. But I definitely agree. I think that it would have been great if we had more time with him on the screen. But I definitely see why it happened that way for plot.
Yeah. And also the theme. He was reinforcing the theme of death, and he gave John Wick his he's always accepted death, but not if it meant dying before he gets to kill who wronged him. So when he finally is able to kill everyone who wrongs him, that's when he finally gives in, even to like the same kind of injuries he's always had in these films. He just kind of feels peace and wants to believe that whatever is after this leads to his wife, even if it doesn't, even if there's nothing there. So it felt like that was really when they were talking in the tunnel about the tombstone. What did you put on his tombstone? Friend, loyal friend. That's all he really needed. So John goes, loving husband.
Loving husband.
That's what I want on mine. And that's what was on his. So I honestly, I think that death in the beginning was the most significant one of the whole film, even matching up to John's, because John would not have been where he was if he hadn't known of his death and felt it so hard, because he was his only friend. He's the only man in the world he would trust with that dog, any of his dogs. So yeah, it was honestly, I think it was a huge thematic butterfly effect. So his death happened, it immediately tied into something that we didn't get to travel to until we went through that much of the movie and got there. But when it happened, it was instant in terms of time, because time's an illusion. It doesn't exist,
Yeah.
as we learned in Mario.
Yeah, that's right.
So, what's your next question?
So my next and last question: do you think that there will be more attention in the future, not only to Akira, which is Rina Sawayama's character, who's hunting Kane, but also to Tracker, who's the guy with the dog, Shamir Anderson?
Yeah, see, he was low key almost shoehorned into this movie.
I really like
Like,
that character. I really like it, and the fact that him and like John became so close at the end.
yeah,
He was kind of like that neutral, could be an ally, could be an enemy character the whole movie. Um, he ended up helping more than he hindered, but like I think that it meant something when he stuck around for the duel.
yeah, just to
Like,
watch, not even interfere.
yeah,
He just
no,
watched,
he just watched,
respected it with a
and
beer.
you can see like the look on his face when like everybody there knew that like John was done. You know what I mean? Like he was walking off to do his thing, and that was probably the end of it.
Yeah,
And I feel like they opened up such an interesting character with him because he got a lot of screen time.
yeah, and I think just a few scenes with him were kind of forced. Like, I was asking myself, why is he here? Why does he
Hmm.
need to be here right now? I think he was more important in that incredible sequence where John is shooting and it goes up to the ceiling level and it shows it like you're looking down on a D&D terrain
Yeah,
room
yeah, with the
where
no
yeah,
ceiling walls and
it
everything
was the
like that.
best shot of
Oh,
the series
oh,
almost. I swear
so
that's probably the
good.
best shot of the series
Oh,
besides
so good.
the fight with Killer,
Hmm.
the giant mobster.
Yeah.
The music in that one was, and the rain was just so well done that,
Oh,
I mean, those two scenes are probably the best scenes in the entire series, and
hmm.
I love the first three,
Oh
so
yeah.
like they really topped themselves in
No,
every way with this
so
one.
good.
But yeah, to answer the question though, I think she's being set up to be probably like the next John Wick type. She's not a replacement, but she's
Mm-mm.
the next vein
It's a
kind of.
continuation.
Yeah, because she's the daughter of his best friend. She's stuck in the blood of what they do, like in family and in literal blood covering you because you're shooting everybody kind of thing.
Mhm.
She's kind of stuck in that blood. She's drowning in it, and she's not going to get out unless she, does what John did and finds a way to quit and stay quit, stay
Mhm.
done and move on. But yeah, I mean, she's going to be very interesting to see what they do with her and Kane, whether that's going to be its own thing or if that's just going to be something that's kind of addressed in the ballerina spinoff. Well, no, the ballerina spinoff takes place before, so
Mhm.
Keanu is going to be cameoing in that one. That's going to be oh, what's her name? She's dating Ben Affleck a year or two ago. Um,
Jennifer Lopez.
no, 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 no. She's the new Cuban
Oh,
actress. She's
I'm
in a
not
bunch of stuff
entirely
now.
sure. I'm not entirely sure.
I can't believe her name is Anya Taylor Joy is just stuck up in there. It's a different A. It's a different A. But yeah, look up the ballerina cast. I'll do that in a second. She they might be primed to either join up or end up fighting. I don't know if ballerina is going to turn into something where she survives that spinoff, that prequel spinoff. But if she does, it'll be interesting to see them fight. Anna de Armas, yes,
And
she's
Armas.
going to be the ballerina
Really?
assassin in Keanu's going to be in that one next year. But that's a prequel, so I don't know where they're going. But if they end up with spin-offs or straight up sequels, the biggest question they're going to have to answer is John Wick truly dead? Is he faking it? You got to close the coffin because we didn't see the coffin close with a body in it. Until I see that, I don't believe it, it happened.
That's right.
You don't tell me that you made a 3-hour movie where everything is shown in painstaking detail, but then suddenly the most important sequence of the whole series you've done, really, you kind of gloss over it and suddenly you see the tombstone only after he passed out on some steps after asking to be taken home. Like, it's such a strange phrase to say, a man of few words. He could have said like a goodbye to Winston or something. He could have said, you know,
Like a thank you.
yeah, I hate you, but this is the end, or like I hate
Hmm.
you, but I love you. And also, Winston said like, farewell, my son, to Wick on his grave, not to his
Yeah.
face. I mean, interesting choice of words in many parts of this. John Wick is known for like simple, Shooter, first person shooter, action fighting, you know, simple plots,
Mm-hmm.
simple beefs that get
That's right.
resolved, and it's mostly just about honor. For like, have a goddamn bit of honor while you're killing
Yeah.
everybody, all the NPCs. You know,
Yeah.
it's about honor between these super killers. So, the fact that they started getting real deep and making those interesting choices of words.
Mm.
I love how vague it is as to where they're going, because I'm so tired of movies where you know exactly what's going to happen next. Like, any Marvel post credits teaser is basically just the leaked script of their next film in that
Yeah.
series, or at least in that sub series of, like, Guardians of the Galaxy hints the next one.
Yeah.
You know what the hell it's going to be, and then the trailers confirm it. And then
Yeah.
and then they also just blueprinted off the last ones. It's like it's almost all the same, but like
Basically.
I love having ones where you're like, what the fuck did happen? There's all these different threads, and they're all good. There's also going to be HBO Max Continental prequel series, so that's going to be cool too.
That's gonna be really
Don't know
cool.
how you pull that off without Lance, but
I don't know.
Winston will be there. I think
Yeah.
a young Winston,
Mm.
so maybe he hasn't met him yet to work around
Maybe.
that. But I mean, I think the best quote of the entire film was when Kane and John know that this is the last.
They're sitting
They
in the
know what they
church.
have to do. Actually, this was after. This is like the end of the duel.
Oh,
He
okay.
go
Yeah, yeah,
the quote was Kane says, "Those who cling to life and die," and John goes, "And those who cling to death live."
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Raises his gun, doesn't shoot, gets shot right through the middle, liver blown up, intestines blown out the bag. You saw
Yeah.
the huge
Yeah.
blood spray,
Huge blood spray.
and the Marquis, cocky as ever, goes up and it does what I said earlier. Winston's like, "You arrogant asshole! He didn't shoot.
Yeah.
Consequences." Yeah, it's just they made a lot of interesting choices. They made a lot of clever play on dialogue at the end. They left a lot open, including
yeah.
possibly his casket. So I want to know what happens next. I'm desperate to know, and it's up to Keanu and the directors if they ever want more Wick to come back, or if he's
Absolutely.
dead, and then they move on to other characters, which also isn't a bad thing, because
No.
it'll be fresh for the series and
Mhm.
it'll be fun, and there's not as much pressure to make each John Wick the greatest goddamn John Wick yet. Like, they really top themselves, and I don't see how they
Yeah.
make a 5 until a lot of time passes,
No.
even if he ever comes back.
Right.
So even if it's done, it was satisfying, and it honestly was either just as good as or probably better than the first 3. Like, I
Mhm.
love them, but this one was so good.
So good.
So this is one of the best movies I've seen to review in a long time. Like, this is, like, I would say straight up 10 out of 10. There wasn't a moment I didn't really like in the movie. The only thing I didn't really jibe with was some of Kane's antics, and
Yeah.
his skills were incredible but impossible and unexplained. And also a little bit of that tracker where it's like,
Yeah.
you don't need to be in every scene. Why are they pushing him so hard? And then
Yeah.
he didn't really have a payoff where he ended up being super important. He was just kind of like mostly there for John to have a dog saving moment.
He was helpful
Yeah.
in a lot of moments, and I think that's why they had him around. Another character to introduce to the franchise to maybe do something with later, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
But again, I
But I
follow
feel
you
like
in that sentiment where
the more significant character that they're pushing past, though,
Mhm.
in the future projects, was the daughter,
Akira.
but she got less screen time than this tracker guy. And
Yeah.
I feel like that was a little inverted. I feel like she should have probably got a little more,
Mhm.
because instead of just cutting to her finding Kane, maybe you show how she found him and show her tracking him a little bit, maybe. But I mean, it was, they got what they got. And there were just only a couple scenes where I thought the tracker was a little forced on us, but I mean, you don't notice it with all the beauty going on.
It's such a good movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
the music was incredible.
the whole franchise of John Wick is fantastic. I would love to see another one, but I'm very satisfied with this one. I would most definitely agree that it's a 10 out of 10 movie. Honestly, in my opinion, it's a 10 out of 10 franchise.
Oh yeah,
And which I'm still stunned this all came to be out of some burglars from a Russian mob came in and killed this man's dog, not knowing who he was. And then, bam, we get 4 movies. And they are some of the most cinematic masterpieces of a hardcore action, like suspense, drama movie series that I've ever watched. And
it's one of the defining markers of the 2010s.
It is.
It was an era where cinema and creative blockbusters were on the harsh decline, very steep tumble very quickly, and the commercialism blew up to a new level, and the story lost most of its meaning
Mm-hmm.
just by so many companies wanting to make a big profit off like Transformers and whatever junk they
Mm-hmm.
could pump on you. So I mean, it really is the defining
Absolutely.
big time cinema action. It was reminiscent of like the cool '80s action films with like Stallone and stuff, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just like all out.
No,
So
I agree,
it's
and
our generation's Stallone, really,
I think
in a
it's
way.
probably tied with Kingsman, the Kingsman movies, as far as my favorite cinematography goes. The Kingsman movies and the John Wick movies are so good in every aspect of cinematography and how they go about the whole film. The camera shots used, the motion of the camera during fights, the focus on each subject during each fight sequence. It's just the use of it is phenomenal, and they are by far my favorite franchises for that purpose.
They handle death so hilariously,
Hmm.
violently, openly, but just amazingly. You see men get split in
Yeah.
half by a boot with a blade on it.
Hmm.
You see Mark Hamill's head blow up in a cloud of Skittles rainbow. You
Hmm.
see Barack Obama's head blow up in the White House. It's one of the greatest. Like, yeah, there's some of the greatest movies I've ever seen too,
Yeah.
and their theme is so strong, and it carries through, and it really ties everything together. And their sense of camaraderie among mass murderers is
Hmm.
is admirable and fun to watch, and you really feel like one of them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I fully agree with you on that. And we reviewed the last Kingsman movie, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
For this,
Hmm.
I'll say it again. That sword fight at
Oh
the
my
end
god,
with of the first fight with the 1812 overture
that
playing
was good.
against Rasputin, who was
Oh,
so
Rasputin's fight
deliciously
scene was
played.
amazing.
Like he was so
Yeah,
funny, but also so perfect as Rasputin. They had him in just the
his
right amount of
dance
the
fighting
movie.
was perfect.
I was so disappointed to see him get shot
Yeah.
because he was around for a perfect amount, but I wanted him more. He was just so
I mean, he
delicious.
lived up to it though. It took forever to kill him. They had to, they had to kill him like 4 times to actually kill him.
And then at the end, the camera on the sword. That's what they made it look like.
Oh
It
my
was
god, that was
so
so.
good.
That's what I mean about the cinematography. The
Yeah.
Kingsman movies and the John Wick movies will never disappoint me as
Mm.
far as that goes. Not a chance.
Manners maketh man.
That's right. But I'd say that sums up pretty much everything I wanted to ask you about for John Wick 4. And you kind of get the sentiment. I think the John Wick movies as a franchise altogether 10 out of 10.
Fully agreed.
Absolutely love all of them.
There's not a single one of them that I would excommunicado.
Absolutely. And tell you what, not a single character I'd have shot off a rooftop either.
Yeah, well, I mean, he survived worse than he took at the end, but
Yeah.
the end really went in the wrong place, right through the gut, as most of the films did, but in the best way,
Yeah.
until the end, where
Only
it
in the
was really
best.
emotional at the end. But
Yeah.
um, I have some trivia for you,
Okay.
John
Hit
Wick
me with it.
trivia. What was the penance of the Bowery? Um, and just a hint in case like it's not fully there.
The Bowery King.
Lawrence Fishburne's character.
The
So
Bowery King, right?
yeah, yeah. What was the penance of the
Penance.
Bowery King that the table enforced on him?
Uh, what was it? All the cuts, right?
7 cuts for 7 bullets.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes you just need to cut a bitch, as he
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Yep. Pass with flying colors. You get a gold coin from the Continental.
Yay. Sounds good to me. When do I get my gun? Um,
7 bullets.
which gotta love
$7 million. 7 bullets.
Which one last note I'll make, and I know we talked about the weapons already, but those pistols that he was given in the end of the movie, they had like gold on them, and then
Mm,
you could take off the top, and it was like spiked on the edges, so he could like punch and
yeah,
puncture
it would be
with
a
them.
stat
He
like
was
a
like
knife.
he
Yeah.
called it like the Viper or something like that, like the Viper bites, and oh my gosh, it was so cool.
Man's got to look good when he's about to get married or buried.
Yeah, that's right.
I love them all. So this was
Absolutely.
one of the most fun episodes I've done in a while. Like
Yeah.
we saw a silly movie, but then also we still had all the thoughts from the really big, like the first movie of the year for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything can top this, it'll be probably the likes of Oppenheimer, Dune 2. Like it's going to take real big ones to really start swinging to John Wick because he came
Yeah.
out stronger than I expected.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's movie of the year right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be topped for a while because Indiana Jones, I mean, you never know how bad Kathleen Kennedy's. We just talked about it a couple episodes ago. You never know how much she might screw it up, and the magic might be lost without Spielberg and Lucas working on it. So we just don't know with Lucasfilm anymore. But then you got like Fast X. Like nobody cares. I'm sorry.
Need another one.
The rednecks are the only people who watch those. Like seriously, everybody else watches it for the laughs, like family. So like, and then Transformers, nobody wanted a reboot of Transformers, it's just like, it's going to be a lot of boring movies this summer and then Aquaman, nobody wants Aquaman 2 this Christmas.
No.
Just so John Wick's going to be up there. I think it's going to be top 10 movies this year. Like maybe top 5.
I think it'll stay on my top spot of this year. I think John Wick 4 will stay as number 1 for me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I just can't, I'll have to see something to believe that it could top it. I really would.
I will challenge you to that, actually. I'm going to watch Oppenheimer in proper IMAX, like the actual size. There's a real theater in Ohio. It's a Cinemark. So we get to see it free.
Oh, okay, cool.
So tell you what, let's watch Oppenheimer. Let's hold you to that. We'll make a bet on Oppenheimer.
Sounds good.
So I don't know what we should bet.
I will figure that out.
Yeah, we'll get that. That's actually going to be something fun to work over the next couple episodes.
One of us buys the next Dark Anthology.
Yeah. It's like one of us, even like movie related, one of us has to get a poster or whatever. We'll think of a really fun one.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So if we pick something now, I know we're going to kick ourselves later and be like, oh, we should have picked this. This is perfect. So when it lands in our hands,
when it lands, we'll find it.
I will. That's my bet. I'm going to bet Oppenheimer, and
good.
We'll see how it goes this July.
Hopefully.
But yeah, this was the exciting new and improved Gonzo Film Reviews. We have a new entry, a new trailer, and everything.
Yes, we do.
Or a new logo. We have a new film production company, so we're getting shiny. We're getting getting real. We're gonna break past 600 listeners. So everyone out there in all 35 or 36 countries who listen, I love you all. And welcome to our new German listeners because they spiked up to 6%.
Wow.
So we have 74% USA. 6% Great Britain, and then a new third place, Germany. So welcome all listeners in Germany.
Honestly, and it's great to be back. I've taken a small hiatus from the podcast, doing everything. I've been studying up on the video game portion of the podcast. I've been pretty much nonstop grinding on that while pursuing education.
Yeah, it's tough to balance this with college,
but now that I'm out, now that I'm done with college, I can, start freeing up the schedule a little more, start finishing up some stuff, and I'm happy to be back on it.
And let me tell you guys, we have a really big one coming up. So we're going to have Jedi Fallen Order 2.
Mm-hmm.
Was that last year? Holy Lord. Last summer we reviewed Family Camp and Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh Lord.
That feels like a couple months ago. I can't believe that was last June. Oh Lord.
I can't believe Family Camp. You just brought back.
Yeah, we probably
we can't get back into that right now.
We'll go for another 2 hours on just trashing that movie again.
Lord, I couldn't.
Especially more so after even just in the past year of like everything I've gone through.
Now that it's had time to sink.
Yeah. And the new project we're working on is really going to cover like a lot of the flaws in that movie in a real big way, like not just narratively or fictionally. I mean, seriously. So
you'll have to tune in for it when it happens.
Yeah, we have a very, very big documentary to announce at some point soon.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Jedi Fallen Order 2 is coming up. There are going to be some big games. I mean, the Star Wars Eclipse that's coming out probably 3 years from now. It's a huge project, but I mean, that's going to be a huge one for us to review.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be some fun games coming out.
Yeah. Plus, we'll still be covering more of the Dark Pictures anthology games. We've been playing through those.
Yeah, we have to make a whole thing. Like even if it's 2-3 hours, I don't care. I want to talk about all of them at once.
Absolutely.
That's going to be a very big special event episode sometime. We have a good all day and then as promised, it's still coming. I promise. I'm going to finish the Lord of the Rings season 1 review because after I reviewed the beginning of the first season, I mean, it just the high really faded, and the rest of the season was so terrible compared to the first couple episodes. That's good. That's still coming. I might touch Gotham Knights Part 2. We don't know yet. I kind of left that open because the game just is so hard to talk about. It's not worth it. But I need to finish it. There's just one little thing I need to do. And then the last announcement I would think is in terms of finishing episodes, the BioShock retrospective is going to be very big and ambitious, probably about 2 hours. Might go on YouTube as well with a lot of footage. So that one's probably coming this summer. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I mean, that's really all the news I have. I mean, there's little things to throw in there. There's a Harry Potter HBO Max reboot. Why? I don't know. It has the exact same logo as the movies, but a new cast. And
We
how do you
can't get
recast
started on it
Hagrid?
yet.
Like, he just passed.
Yeah.
You lost Alan Rickman. You lost
Yeah.
Barty Crouch. You lost so many people that were in the original, and they were perfectly cast. There's nothing you could do to top Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. There's nothing you can do to top Ron Weasley. I don't think you can get it better than Rupert Grint. He was built for the role. So, it's just it's hard. So good luck to them. I hope they're okay. I'm not going to watch most of it probably. I'll just skim it to review it. But if it's good, I'll be honest. But I mean, they're doing one book per season. That's the goal, and it's happening fast. So it's probably going to be a mistake every time they rush these things. They turn out badly. But we will see. I have a tiny bit of hope that they don't completely screw it up,
and we'll have to find out.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you everyone, including Germany, all new listeners for tuning in. This is going to be about the 5th or 6th episode of season 2 of Gonzo Film Reviews, and season 2 is really we're picking up steam, and we're getting a lot of design things done, and we're going to have some really fun projects coming out. So thanks everyone for sticking in and listening, and those who cling to death live, those who cling to life
die.
Yeah. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks for listening.
Yep.